I'm speechless right now. Coach Michael Burt is going to amaze you. The reason he's going to amaze you is right away you notice that this guy is a genuine guy. And a guy that had the beginning where most people think the future will be gloomy. He turned that situation into when he was young, watching sports games and watching the coach players, and he became a coach. Then had a mentor who was a coach, and now he's a business coach. This guy is a master in his field, and you can hear it in his words. You won't hear any excuses. You see, people, I've always said, the thing that separates the rich from the poor is the mindset. If you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to do it. That's powerful words, people. But when you hear Coach Michael Burt speak, you hear that confidence just coming through the speakers. And you got to have that. And he's going to talk about things that's going to help you with the breakthrough in your life, in your business, in your marriage, whatever it is. Take these principles and apply them to your life. So without further ado, let's bring the coach on. What's going on, Start a Business for Cheap followers? Man, we have a treat for you today, and I don't even know how I'm talking to him because the guy's so busy, I didn't even think he was going to return the call. But it just shows you that this guy is passionate about what he does. He's known as the super coach, Michael J. Burt. How's it going over there today?
It's going great, man. It's going great. Glad to go. Hey, you know what? You expand your territory by asking. And that's what you did. You know, you asked. You said, will you be on a deal? I said, yeah, man. Hey, very few people ask. So you ask, you get what you want.
You're right about that. And you can't get what you want if you don't ask. So, yeah,
that's right.
I agree about that. Now, you're out there in Tennessee, right? Is that
Murfreesboro? Yes, about 30 miles east of Nashville.
Okay, I was out there in Nashville over the summer. Nice city. Nice city. Okay. Now, Coach, we're going to start from the beginning. Now, everybody sees you right now as the coach. You're helping people. You were in the athletic field. We're going to talk about that. When you were young, first of all, Coach, where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Tennessee?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town called Woodbury, Tennessee. Less than 2,500 people inside the city limits, 10,000 people inside the county lines. I heard of a lot of psychological scripting that you'll never be able to do anything big because you're from a small town. I got so sick of it, I wrote a book called Small Towns and Big Dreams. And the subtitle was Your Destiny Has No City Limits. So you're not limited by where you come from. You're not limited by your past. But yeah, I grew up in a very, very small town. There were positives and negatives about doing that.
Okay. Now, Coach, when you were in school, in academics and things of that nature, were you good? Were you the guy that was staring outside of the window while the teacher was talking? Who were you in school?
I actually was a pretty good student. I finished 8th in my graduating class. Wow. I was not an academic brainiac. I had a lot of emotional intelligence. And I knew I was going to be a coach at a very early age because even at 6 years old, I know you hear a lot of people talk about this. I believe your unique ability many times is detected very early in life, but usually by other people, not by you. And so at 6 years old, a little elementary coach or little league coach said to me, you're going to be a coach one day. I answered all the questions. I studied the game. I was very analytical. My high school coach called me professor because I was a little point guard. And so I was always coaching and thinking. And so that really led to my life's work. But was I a great student? No. Was I interested in some things? But I was a typical average student. I was a very average student in college. And my GPA actually got better the more degrees I got because I got more serious as I got older.
So what did your mom and dad do for a living?
My mom is a nurse, has been a nurse her whole life, and very compassionate, but much of my drive. She had me when she was 16 years old. My dad was 18, so they were just kids having a kid. Yep. They married for 1 year, divorced. My dad was not involved in much of my early life, or at least I don't remember him being very involved, but he works at a factory as a manager. So I got a lot of grit from my mother and bounce back and get back up and do it again and work through it and challenge it. Dad likes to have a good time. And so a lot of my personality probably comes from my father, because his mission in life is just have fun, man. Just have a lot of fun.
Have a lot of fun. now I got a question to ask you.
Sure.
So the dad wasn't really in the life.
Not early. He is now, but not early in life.
Okay. Now, do you think that caused you to have that powerful motivation that you have? Do you think that made you just go a little bit harder?
You know, it's an interesting question, and I've certainly wondered about that in my life. A few months ago, on my show, Super Coach, I had a psychotherapist on the show. Never gone to therapy my whole life. I've never sat through a therapy session, but I was so curious about where does all of my ambition come from? Why do I have this chip inside of me that wants more, that is never satisfied, that is thankful but not satisfied? I always thought it was because my dad wasn't involved in my life early. I didn't have a lot of attention that I got from him, and I was always yearning for that. The psychotherapist actually said, many times when you get knocked down early in life or have something that's missing, not all children bounce back. Many of them learn what's called learned helplessness, where they stay down. So she said multiple times during the show that most people that get back up and have a drive had somebody early in their life. She actually used the word coach about 9 or 10 times during that show. Mm-hmm. She said they have somebody in their life that shows them how to get back up when they get knocked down and is involved in their life. And my mother was poor growing up. We were poor. She used to take me to the baseball field, and I would stay at the baseball field for hours and hours at a time. I think it was for babysitting, because we could get cheap babysitting there, right? they didn't, but you know, she turned me over to coaches while she worked her second job, and she put herself through nursing school. And so think about this: from 5, 6 years old all the way up during my primitive years, I'm surrounded by coaches. I'm surrounded by other people who care about me, who affirm and validate me, who believe in me. So I have to attribute some of my drive in life to those people because of how much they sowed into me at an early age.
Wow. Now, I want to go into the small town again, because I lived in the biggest cities. I did Vegas, Seattle, and Phoenix. And now I'm out here in the cold South Dakota. That's where I'm at. Small city. And the first thing I noticed, Coach, when I came here was everybody did everything together.
Yeah.
There is no, if you're the guy that stands out, you're looked at as different, and that's a negative thing.
That's right.
And then you're right. Small towns are great places to live, but a lot of these people live in the bubble, you know? And why do you think this is? You think they just find comfort in comfort, or what's the deal with that?
Well, I want to pull out some concepts from the book Small Towns and Big Dreams that I wrote many years ago. And one thing I said early in the book is that every action you take is driven by your thoughts, and your thoughts are no wiser than your understandings. I got that from The Richest Man in Babylon. Second paragraph, first page, second or third paragraph, first sentence. And man, when I heard that, it just punched me right in the face. Every action you take is driven by your thoughts, and your thoughts are no wiser than your understandings. Wow. So let's take my small town, for example. If I never had any bigger experiences than I had in my small town, there's no industry, there's no money, there's very little growth, there's very little change. If I grow up in that environment, and what I've got is limited exposure to bigger think. And so if I never get out of my small town, and when I did the research for the book, what I found out is that most people from small towns never go to universities further away than 30 miles from their hometown.
Yep.
So they go to a close university, which I did. Many of them turn right around and go back and become teachers, because that's one of the primary sources of employment in small towns is education or prison systems. Yep. And so, so here's the deal. We're hearing from our parents, hey, you're never going to be anything big. We're from a small town. We're watching them model that sometimes. Then we're hearing it from our teachers. So guess what? Every action we take is driven by our thoughts. Our thoughts are no wiser than our understandings. So I don't have a bigger think. So I got very small actions. So when I started getting out of that small town, going to New York City, Chicago, LA, places that were moving fast, Miami, I started to say, man, there's a bigger world out there, baby. And so, that's the problem. So my daughter, I've got a 2.5-year-old daughter. We put her on a plane first 3 months she's alive. We take her to Florida because I didn't go to the ocean. I didn't go see the ocean until I was 16 years old. So I want her to be well-rounded. I want her to be around people. And that's really the problem in small town. I love community. I love the fact that a small town will get together on Friday night and raise money for somebody who's struggling in the community.
Yep.
I remember going to my grandparents' house on Sunday mornings, and we all went to church together, the whole family, aunts, uncles, grandparents. We walked across the street to the church. I remember every Saturday afternoon going to Shoney's for a strawberry pie. I mean, this is what I learned growing up. But me personally, I wanted more. And I've got friends that still live in that small town. And quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think they shortchange their potential. They never get around anything bigger. And so I think when you have small think, you take small action. When you take small action, you get small returns. You solve small problems. You get compensated in small ways. And there's a big world out there that's calling and yearning for your talent and your abilities.
Wow. So I was born in a small town, actually Mississippi. And my thing was when I turned 17, I graduated on a Sunday and went to the military on a Wednesday. I had to get out of there, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of like you. When I left, I saw the world. I Southern Asia and the world, and I was like, wow, the world is a lot different than where I grew up. And it just makes you stretch just a little bit more. It just makes you just a different person, because I think traveling is one of the best educations a person can put in their life. So, Now, Coach, I call you Coach because you're in the business coaching arena, but before that, you were actually in the athletic field. Tell us about that, because you won a lot of games when you were in the coach field.
Yeah, because I found my voice very early in life, 15 years old, I started coaching junior pro basketball. And why that's important is that when most people go about their life, there's two really important days of your life. The day you're born and the day you find your purpose, okay? And most people I coach could not tell me their talents when I asked them. They could not tell me what they believe, why they believe it, what they do as a result of that belief. And so if you can find your voice earlier in life, it's one reason we're doing a School of Greatness for Kids, is because my belief is if I can help a child find their talents at 15 or 12 or 11, then they do nothing but hone and nurture and nourish that talent and work at it and excel at it. And so at 15 years old, I was coaching junior pros. My first coaching job. 18, I was an elementary basketball coach at won a state championship. At 19, I was coaching at the largest high school in Tennessee, or one of the top three in Tennessee. At 22, I was the head coach. So where you went to the military, right after school, I went straight to coaching.
Wow.
And so at 22, I'm the head coach of one of the biggest programs in Tennessee. So I'm already a head coach. So by 25, when I started writing books, I've really been doing that for 10 years. And I'm a big believer in breakthroughs, whether it be at 10 years or 10,000 hours of practice. I don't know if that's true or not. I know there's a lot of data that supports 10,000 hours of practice. Well, at 25 years old, I'd had 10,000 hours of practice. And so I just accelerated from 25 to 30. Won a championship at 31. We averaged winning about 75% of our games.
Wow. And
by this time, I'd written 4 books, so I was coaching my team, and I was also speaking over here at big companies, Dell, National Healthcare, State Farm Insurance. I was speaking at all these major companies while I was still a high school basketball coach. And so, but at my core, I am a coach. I am a pure coach. And I speak and I coach and I train and I lead. But at my core, I am a pure coach, which means I engage people in a set of systematic and consistent behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they can't do today. You say, where do you coach people? 4 places: their knowledge, their skill, their desire, and their confidence. And when I can diagnose where a person needs coaching, man, I just coach the heck out of them. And because of my background in coaching, I know how to find and fill missing structures very fast. So a natural program for us today is, I was actually doing it today for Churchill Mortgage, one of the biggest mortgage firms in the country.
Yeah.
Is I have a program called Turn Your Managers into Coaches, where throughout the course of a year, I teach managers how to become great coaches that coach and develop the talent that they acquire.
You know something, Coach? When you were talking about when you were a kid and you were sitting, was it a baseball game your mom would drop you off at? Was that it?
Yeah, baseball field.
You were studying then and probably didn't even know it.
That's exactly right.
By watching the behaviorisms of the coaches and how they did things. Because I was going to ask you, when you were 19 years old and you were coaching, where did you pull your inspiration from?
I want to tell you, you're exactly right. Because there's a book out called Talent is Overrated. Jeff Colvin wrote the book. He's the editor of Fortune magazine, I think. Uh-huh. And he makes a very strong argument. And the argument is this. The people that you look at that you believe are just more talented or gifted than others, Tiger Woods, Mozart, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Jerry Rice, all of these people that we look at and think have so much talent really is not that they're more gifted naturally than others. It's just they started so much earlier in life. Tiger Woods was on a golf course at 7 months old with his dad, who was retired, so he could spend that time with him. I think it was Bill Gates or Buffett went to work with his dad at 11. Mozart was playing music at 2 years old. So, in some ways, starting at 5 and 6 years old, I was already working on my talent of coaching. And so at 19, I pulled a lot of my inspiration from a coach named Don Meyer, who was a great coach. He actually won more games than John Wooden. And he was at a school called David Lipscomb University, a Christian school in Tennessee, and he was unbelievable. But he was the guy who turned me on to business concepts. And so he said in 1994, I remember it like it was yesterday, I was 18 years old, I was coaching, and I was at a coaching clinic that was free. And he said, if you don't read another book this year, read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Good book.
And he said, while you're at it, pick up a copy of First Things First. And Meyer would make all of his players have notebooks. They would carry notebooks everywhere they went. They would take notes, and he would teach life through sport. And I said, man, when I become a head coach, I will take these things and teach my players. And so I began to call what I was doing the Greatness Factory. Is I would take kids from all walks of life, all socioeconomic, all backgrounds, all ethnicity, all races, all everything, and I would put them into our system, and I would pump out greatness. And so I felt like we built a very strong system that did that.
Now, you mentioned a guy that I was actually going to bring up, John Wooden from UCLA, right?
Yes.
So you're saying, I thought he was one of the all-time winningest coaches, but you're saying that Mr. Meyer was.
Don Meyer actually has more wins. I believe that's right. You can check and see, but Don Meyer actually has more wins than John Wooden does.
Wow. But something that John Wooden did that stood out with me was, and you tell me what you feel about this. John Wooden said he wouldn't coach every player the same because every player isn't the same. And we all know that, and we were talking about this earlier about pushing through the wall, giving it all, and trying to get that mindset right for that the right player. How does that happen? How can you bring the most out of a person in that athletic field or even business?
Well, let's go to where we diagnose, because here's the real problem for coaches or managers. They don't know where to diagnose the problem. And it seems like there's so many problems. So I say good coaches find and feel missing structures. And a missing structure is a void or a gap or a hole. And if we just filled it, we could be sitting on acres of diamonds, so to speak. So when I learned the whole person theory back in the 90s from Covey, he said every person is made up of 4 parts: a body, a mind, a heart, and a spirit. Each of these 4 parts produce 4 different needs, 4 different dimensions, 4 different intelligences, 4 different capacities. So the body's needs to live, that's skill, discipline. The mind's need is to learn, that's knowledge, IQ. Heart's need is to love and be loved, that's EQ. Passion, desire, want to. The spirit's need is to leave a legacy, to connect to a higher power, to be part of something bigger. That's confidence. So every person you've ever coached, you have one of those 4 areas that they need work in. It's knowledge, skill, desire, or confidence.
Okay. And you said something else that was profound too, that I think is a lot of people are not doing today. And I think this is probably one of the hardest questions known to man about what is your passion. You see, and even maybe in the small town and all over pretty much all over the world, a lot of people think that if you find your passion, let's say it's music or art or whatever it is, they don't think it pays enough. So they tell people, hey, why your family says, or your friends, why don't you just get a real job that's going to pay your bills? Don't mess around with this passion stuff. What is your take on that?
Well, you name one thing that you've ever been great at that your heart wasn't involved in. You know, and here's the deal: the average person is going to spend 35 to 50 years of their life working, and you can't tell me that somebody would sign up and do something for 35 to 50 years that they don't enjoy, that they don't love, and be really great at it. So it has to do with how we see work. And I wrote about this in a book called This Ain't No Practice Life, which was a bestseller for me. And here's what I said. Work should be the distribution channel for your talents.
Yes.
If you look at work as the distribution channel for your talents, you have certain capacities and talents and passions and abilities. Work is the vehicle that distributes those talents to the world. And the better you are at distributing those talents, and the more you hone those talents, and the more you use your talents to solve other people's problems, the more the world rewards you in the form of love and money and recognition and referrals and repute. So if you distribute mediocre talent through the distribution channel of work, or mediocre effort, or mediocre ability, you get rewarded in mediocre ways. And so you have got to change the way you see work. And so I'm a big believer in finding your voice that is at the intersection of your passion and your talents and your conscience and a need in the world that you can fulfill. And then once you find it, helping other people find theirs. And so I think a lot of people, there's no classes in school on how to find their voice. We do. Yes. We will be teaching it as part of School of Greatness to help kids find their voice. But when I ask adults today what their talents are, I mean, you should hear some of the responses. I'm a good person. I show up on time. I work hard. I'm like, dude, this ain't talent, man. Those are not talents. Talents are, I can take something incredibly complicated and make it simple. Talent is I can take trash and turn it into cash.
Yes.
A talent is I see opportunity where other people see nothing. Mm-hmm. A talent that I've been blessed with is I can extract information from over here and make it applicable over here. I can synthesize it. I can break it down. I can share it in a way that gets people to move. A lot of people can extract and share content, but it is to get people to move and to take action. And that's part of that coaching me. And so, you know, what if I sat here boring, no emotion, no passion, and I was sharing this content, then you know, that's really not a talent. Anybody can do that. So you really have to find your talent first and then find the appropriate home, that appropriate environment that allows your talent to flourish. That is your work.
Yeah, and you know, I've asked this question to a lot of people about the passion. This is a big thing because we live in this safe world. Everybody have to get the safe job, get the safety net or whatever. But a lot of people don't know where to start to even find their passion. What would your advice be to those people?
They need to read it. They need to read This Ain't No Practice Life, my book. Because when parents come to me after I speak and say, I've got a 25-year-old that's lost and wondering and confused, which book do I need to buy for them? I say, I've got a book that helps them find their voice. Now, let me give an example. I've got a friend that she is incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent. I mean, smart off the chart, much smarter than me. But she bounces around from job to job. She lasts about 6 months. She goes in there and complains about it and always finds something wrong with it. And I'm like, look, read the dang book. Because here's your problem. It ain't the job. It's you. You're the problem. You don't know what your talents are. And if you did find your talents, they would most likely be attached to your passion, although you can be passionate about something and not be talented at it.
Yep.
But many times where your talent lies is where your passion is. It's where your heart is. And that's why, that's why it's so important to know where your heart is where your treasure is. And so, I'm a big believer in let's help you find this talent. Let's find this passion. Now, I'm not a big believer in follow your passion or chase your bliss. Let me tell you what I'm a big believer in. Excel at your passion. Work at your passion. Nurture your passion. Whip your passion. I mean, go to work on it. Don't just chase it or follow it. I mean, excel at it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. So you're on the Whatever It Takes Network with my man, Grant Cardone. And he was asked this question, and I'm going to ask you the same question and see how you answer this. I see you on some of your speaking events. I saw pictures of you in a zebra striped jacket. right? And I said, man, it takes confidence to wear that jacket.
Wear an ugly jacket.
I'm not saying it's ugly, but I'm saying
it is ugly, brother. It's ugly.
Are you an extremely confident guy? And if you are, how do you bring that confidence on?
I'm glad you asked that, because I want to address two parts of that equation. I am in 100% agreement. I actually did my show today on Supercoach about this. I am in 100% agreement with Grant on this concept. The number one challenge for you, for me, for every small business owner in America, solopreneur, entrepreneur, is not that they're not good. It's just not enough people know who they are. They are fighting obscurity. And obscurity is you have something incredibly valuable, but it's hidden away, and you can't get enough attention. You can't get enough energy toward it. You can't get enough people to know who you are. So I wear that jacket as part of me speaking on the book Zebras and Cheetahs. A zebra looks different than every other animal. A cheetah runs faster. Yep. So you have to think, what makes me different than everybody else? The jacket is just symbolic that when I speak on it, I don't look like everybody else. I stand out like a zebra. And that's part of getting more attention. And it does get attention. I worked at the airport once, man, sold almost $200 worth of books to strangers. Now, to your point about confidence, I wrote a whole book on that called Swag. One of my favorite books to write. The original title of the book was called A Course in Confidence. And I changed it to Swag at the very last minute. But here's what I know about confident people. Confident people want risk and opportunity. Insecure people want comfort and complacency. One progresses and one digresses. One attacks and one gets attacked. So confidence is the one thing. I said this today to a guy. You'd be hard-pressed to find one ingredient that does not affect all 7.5 billion people on the planet greater than confidence. Because without this, it's a great liability to you. It's one of the greatest liabilities you ever have with no confidence. With confidence, you can do so much more. So in that book, Swag, I break down confidence like a science. And I say, here's what it is. Because a lot of people say, you need more confidence. Hey, if you just have more confidence, you can pick up a woman. If you just have more confidence, you can make more money. Here's what we don't tell people. What is it? It is an internal knowing that you can create or manifest that which you see in your mind. It is a belief. It's an internal ammunition. It is the memory of success. But if you've not had any success, you don't have any confidence. So I teach in the book how to build it, how to maintain it, how to protect it, how to get it back once you've lost it. And it's a small book that has a big impact. I write a lot of smaller books because I think people will read them. And that was my very latest book. It's called Swag.
Yeah. And we're gonna put your website and all your information of your books. And man, it seems like you have a book to solve every problem on that so far.
Hey, the only reason you need to write a book is to solve a problem, and from my perspective. And, it's a new business card. So even when I'm writing books now, the new book I'm working on is Everybody Needs a Coach in Life. And really, to be honest with you, I should have wrote that book very first, because that is the core basic belief of what I believe. And because I think a good coach can change your life. And you're in the business coaching section. And, the better you coach these guys and girls, the better they perform. The better the coach, the better the team. And so I think you'll do what good coaches do, which have conversations with them they don't want to have, make them do some things they don't want to do, but help them become something they couldn't become on their own. They need you in their life to break through their ceilings of complexity.
Yeah. So we're coming upon the end here, Coach, but I got one question for you that I think will help with your knowledge here. The people that just want to start the business, they want to go and get a better career, and they're stuck and their mind is just playing tricks on them, all types of negative thoughts, their environment. How can that person push through that wall and get to where they want to go?
Here's the deal. I go back to my premise. This ain't no practice life. You can stay on a miserable bus as long as you want, but it's not my time, it's yours. Time is a depreciating asset. We can't stop it. We can't slow it down. We can't speed it up. And you have been given certain talents and abilities, and it is time for you to get off the fence. It is time for you to take action. It is time for you to take those talents to the world. And it may be through starting a business. It may not be through starting. And I will be honest with you. It is hard as hell to start a business. I mean, I've been in mine 7 years, and I am fighting tooth and nail every day to get attention, to sell our products and services, to make a dent in the world. So it ain't easy. It's not for the faint of heart. But here's the deal, man. If you're trying to buy time and freedom and energy, just do the math. The people that have that are the people that own businesses.
That's true. That is so true.
I mean, it may just be a lifestyle business where you buy yourself more time and freedom, and it's not really an enterprise. But at the end of the day, entrepreneurs take low-level resources to higher levels of productivity, low thoughts of value to high thoughts of value. And although it's challenging at times, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. It's one of the most incredible journeys. We create jobs, we help people, we build momentum, and it's an enormous opportunity and responsibility.
I agree. Well, Coach, thank you for your time. I know you're a busy guy over there. And when I called you earlier, you was multitasking. You didn't have to do it, but thank you. And I'm sure this will definitely help those who listen. And like I said, we'll put all your info up a little later. So thank you for following us.